The SRL on the NFL. Previews, predictions, and analysis covering every storyline in football every week. The SRL on the NFL. Welcome back, everybody, to the SRL on the NFL. This is episode number 16 for week 16 of the 2024 NFL season. How is everybody doing? My name is Brendan Yerkes, joined alongside Alex Fachaponte. Alex, another week, the NFL down. 3 more weeks to go in this regular season. We're really coming down to the wire here, and we got another exciting week of games ahead.
Yeah, we got, I would argue we probably have the best slate of football all year. So these matchups are crazy, a lot of playoff implications. It's going to get intense.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the games that we had last week, and we're going to keep that theme rolling here. Last week, my picks, I went 13-3. Another good week for me. You went 11-5. No, not too shabby either. But I took back the lead. You had a 1-game lead, and now I have a 1-game lead, hopping you by 2 there. So I'm 143-81. Alex, 142-82. So
Crazy.
Still coming down to the wire with our predictions, but we've been having fun with it, and we're ready for this analysis. Before we get into last week's games, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at SRL.media, and this podcast, you can find it, video version on YouTube, along with Spotify and Apple Podcasts. All of those are SRL Media. All right, last week's games, week 15, we're going to start off with Thursday night, the Rams and the 49ers, and this was kind of a surprise. There were no touchdowns in this game, but the Rams get the win 12-6, big divisional game. And I think we both had the 49ers. We both expected them to come out with this game. They did not. And now we're in this situation where the 49ers are pretty much done, but not officially done. But I think this one kind of is the icing on the cake that we don't think they're going to be the team to represent the NFC West this year in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no shot at the division at this point. And then the wild card teams are just in a much better spot than them. And I think they just were injured this year. There's really not much you could really say. Like, it seemed like when guys were starting to get back or something and starting to maybe get a role, then the next guy got injured. And it sucks, but that's the NFL. That's what happens. So you just got to try to get your troops ready for next year and go back into battle. But yeah, it's a tough year for them overall.
It does happen, but what are you going to do? The Cowboys and the Panthers, we both expected Carolina to win this game. Probably the first time all year that we picked them. But the Cowboys were able to prevail. Another good game for them. 30-14, they win this one.
Yeah, nothing really much here. But again, like I had some faith in the Panthers. Shockingly, I mean they're 3-11, but because I thought that they were home. But yeah, no, Dallas pulls it out.
Cowboys have beaten the bad teams this year. It's very strange.
True.
But I mean, they're just like an average team. I think we determined that they're not going to be like an awful team because they're not. But they're obviously not going to be a good team, so they're going to end around 500. But Cooper Rush 3 touchdowns in this game, good for him. The Chiefs and the Browns. The Chiefs win again, 21-7. This one closer score than you would expect. I know they had like 4 turnovers. Their defense was able to have a really good day, but it's just the same thing. Their defense carrying the way. I mean, the offense hasn't really been able to get going for Kansas City. Kelsey's still nothing really there. The run game has really slowed down. Kareem Hunt not doing too well, and now with Pacheco back, but Hunt had the better game, 45 yards, their leading rusher. But it's just, I don't know where to start with that offense. But like I said, the defense, they're lucky they went against Jameis Winston because he had 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I think it's crazy to say. I think Casey's kind of new identity is just their defense. I mean, it was shown last year, and
right. But Mahomes was great still last year.
Right, and he's not. But right now, for his standards, but again, it's crazy to say if you have a really good defense in the NFL, you don't need to be great. You just need to be good. And Mahomes is definitely good. He's still good, but just not great to his standard right now. That's the problem.
Yeah. Again, we keep saying they're going to figure it out, but maybe just when they get to the playoffs because they're just coasting along and they still have only lost 1 game.
Like that's crazy to say. We're like, oh, they're not really looking great. They're 13-1. That's so crazy to say.
It's insane, but like that, I feel like they haven't looked good any of these weeks though. They win these games, but just like
close.
They're all close games. All right, Texans and the Dolphins. The Dolphins needed this one. I mean, the Dolphins pretty much needed all of them the rest of the way to have any sort of chance to make it. They lose 20-12. Tua has 3 interceptions under 200 yards, and this pretty much kills them. And they still have a slim chance, but it's very, very unlikely at this point. And the Texans still, they're another team that hasn't really impressed too much, but they've won a bunch of games and they've now clinched that playoff spot in that division. So they'll be moving in there. But again, not really that impressive of a game from them either. But they get the win over Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a testament to the Texans. Obviously, they had a little rough patch, and they're starting to look a little bit more like themselves. I mean, I don't know. I think this year when they came in with these expectations, everyone thought they were gonna like run with the AFC. I didn't think that, but I thought they'd be very good, and that's where they're currently at right now. They're very good.
So they could sharpen things up, especially with some divisional games to close out the year and enter the playoffs on a high note. They are going to win that division. I don't know if they actually, like I said, officially clinched it or not. I know they definitely clinched a playoff spot.
Definitely, yeah.
So, but that's most likely they're going to win the division and get that home game as the lower seed in the AFC. Okay, so the Jets won a game finally. Again, they win 32-25. This is the first time they scored more than 30 points in a game this season. They beat Jacksonville. Sauce Gardner has his first interception since November of 2022, so that's kind of remarkable. It would have been horrible if he dropped the one that he caught because Mac Jones just basically was throwing to him if you look at the highlight. But this just further sparks the debate on if Aaron Rodgers should come back next year because Davante Adams was vintage Davante Adams in this game, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, a couple amazing catches. It was pretty fun to watch him out there and do his thing, but he'll be back next year, and there's still those pieces, like I said, that can make this Jets team okay with the right coaching staff. But it's hard to tell if Rodgers will be back or not. But he had a pretty solid game here as well.
Yeah, I mean Rodgers. These past couple of weeks, he's starting to show me something like, oh wait, he's still kind of Aaron Rodgers. Like the first obviously half of the season, we were like, he's just old and just done. But I mean, the last couple of weeks, he's starting to show us. Maybe he still has a little bit left. And yeah, Tay looked like he turned the clock back, and wow, yeah, nearly 200 yards. Like,
yep,
that's insane.
And it's still going to be Rodgers having one of the best Jets quarterback seasons of all time. It's just even the games they were losing. I know we keep saying it, like a lot of little minor mistakes, like one penalty or one missed kick, and that like derailed a game, and then that happened 3 games in a row, and then the season was kind of lost at that point, and then it spiraled out of control. It's like some of these, like the season, like it's so crazy because like you don't know what would have happened, but if things go a little bit differently early on in the year, like we always say, like Robert Saleh could still be here, they could be fighting for a playoff spot. Like you never know. Like Rodgers overall hasn't been that awful. He's just the little things that he's done wrong have hurt the team. Like you look back to a few weeks ago, was that the Colts game? No, it was the Seahawks game, and he had Garrett Wilson wide open in the end zone, and he overthrew him, and they lose that game. Like that's something that he can't be doing. But then he shows you stuff like this in a game, and he has a fantastic effort. So it's just you see a lot of good, and the little mistakes that he's made, and not just him, but everybody. I mean, everybody's to blame for this mess. But it just shows you where the Jets could be. But Jacksonville, they're obviously very banged up, not very good to begin with when they're healthy. So the Jets should win this game, being the superior team talent-wise, and they do. So something good building towards the future. I know the Jets have been saying that forever, but listen, what is a higher draft pick really going to do? You don't know what that team's going to do at this point, and they never expected to be in this situation anyway. So if they win like 1 or 2 more games the rest of the year, it wouldn't shock me, but still, they got a bit of a tough schedule to close it out, so you never really know. All right, Washington and the Saints. Washington gives up a touchdown at the end. They might have got screwed over by the officiating and the clock there, but they hold on. They win 20-19. Jaden Daniels, another really good game. Completion percentage, 80%. So he's very efficient getting the ball around, even with a lower yard total. He was good on the ground, too. Terry McLaurin, 2 touchdowns. This guy has been so much fun to watch this year. Finally getting a real quarterback throwing him the ball. So that's been really awesome to see. And the Commanders, they win this game that they should. They're still alive and well, pushing for that wild card spot. And I think they're going to be in when it's all said and done. They're probably close to clinching soon, I would think, and getting back to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's looking like right now, because I'm seeing the playoff standings. It's really going to be coming down to one who gets the NFC West, because the Seahawks right now are on the outside looking in. They're 8-6. The Commanders are 9-5. So again, they're a game out. So if Seattle wins one, Commanders lose one, now they leapfrog them, and then it's crazy because I feel like both the Commanders and the Seahawks have shown to me that they're worthy of making the playoffs. So that would be frustrating to see one of those teams not make it.
Yeah. Because I thought the Commanders were basically a shoo-in, like being right behind the Eagles, obviously winning that division, and then the Commanders involved as well. But there's it's
That
really just
NFC North is just
yeah, I was
killing.
gonna say the NFC
Yeah,
North just causing issues there. I just think I don't know. I think the Commanders are gonna find a way to get in and be that last team. But you never know. Crazier things have happened. So
true.
if two NFC West teams get in, that would be remarkable with
I don't. Yeah,
how
I
it's
don't know.
built.
That would be
But I
tough.
don't see it either. I'm with you there.
I don't see it, but it could happen. Could happen.
Anything could happen, except the Jets making it ever.
Right. Correct.
All right, MetLife Stadium. Another plane was flown over. Giants lose again. No surprises here. Lamar Jackson 5 touchdowns, almost 300 yards. They win 35-14. I know you're happy this keeps rolling on. I don't know if you have anything else to add other than the Ravens are on a roll right now. They're playing really well, and the Giants are just a horrible football team.
Giants are a horrible football team, and it's so crazy to say, but I'm so happy to see that. I don't want to be in this middle territory, so I'd rather be just plain out terrible, and that's where we are right now, and that's okay.
And
Uh,
there's
and
one thing
yeah,
I want to add is just Tim Boyle should never be playing in the NFL. He
oh
is
my god,
the worst quarterback in the NFL. And the fact that he even has a job in the NFL is remarkable. This man in college threw 1 touchdown and 13 interceptions in his last year
not
before
enough.
he went to the NFL. He was at
Yep,
Western Kentucky and he threw 13 touchdowns total
yep.
there. I think in like 2 or 3 years. It's crazy. And he made the NFL out of all the people. And he's been on like 6 teams now that he's made his
He
tour
destroyed
around. He
6
was on the
roster
Jets
spots.
last year. He was on the Packers. It's just like he must learn the offenses quickly or something because this guy on the football field is just not a good player. I mean, maybe he just knows what he's doing. He seems like a great guy. Nothing against him personally. I mean, his teammates seem to like him. It's just how does he play in the NFL?
I don't know what he does. I mean, clearly he does something right because he's still getting opportunities. I find it insane. It feels like every time there's like a team tanking, it's like, oh well, Tim Boyle's about to start this week, so don't worry about it. But yeah, no, that's insane in itself. Um, and Neighbors still looking good. That's all I want to see. I want to see Neighbors and Tracy just develop, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, the Ravens were obviously going to smoke them this game, and it's not a shock to me.
And they did.
Yeah,
All right. The Bengals beat the Titans 37-27. Another game where the Bengals put up a lot of points, and it wasn't a shoe-in for them to win. They obviously win by 10, but that defense has really struggled this entire year. But they hold on. Joe Burrow, he had 2 picks of his own this game, so not ideal there. But they hold on and get the win in that one. Cardinals, they're at home against the Patriots. They win 30-17. I think we all expected that to happen.
yeah,
They're a more talented team being at home. Kyler Murray, another solid game. They're getting the ball around. 2 touchdowns for James Conner. So the Cardinals, they remain alive in this race for the NFC West. Broncos put a beat down on the Colts. The Colts are quickly, as we expected, fading out of contention here. They 31-13, the final score in that one for Denver. Jonathan Taylor dropping the ball at the goal line. That's just crazy how that keeps happening. That was kind of what hurt them in this game. They couldn't really recover from that. Anthony Richardson, 2 picks. Another game where he struggled, not able to get anything going. Bo Nix, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, so getting a Jameis Winston experience there. But
nice.
he's showing you some things that you could build off of. He's still making rookie mistakes. So as of now, not a concern, but you're going to want that to be better, especially going into the playoffs. I
Right.
don't want too many issues there, but he's been a really big surprise this year for how he succeeded to this point, going to lead Denver to the playoffs. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. All right, let's talk about this one that everybody wants to talk about. Buffalo, Detroit, 48-42. The Bills are able to get this win again and score a lot of points again for the second straight week. Josh Allen's been on a tear, but I don't know if we should be concerned for Buffalo going forward. I mean, yes, they win the game, but they are giving up points at an alarming rate. And yes, their offense is scoring at an alarming rate, at a very high rate too. But is that sustainable?
It's a fair point. I mean, it's at the end of the day, I just think of all right. Well, who has more points on the scoreboard? And the Bills put up points. Like
Absolutely.
they're second in points per game right now with like 32 points per game. That's insane.
Well, they scored
And
40-something last week, too, over the Rams,
right,
and they lost that game. That's
right,
why
but
it kind of, like, begs the question. If you're
right. No,
scoring 40 points in an NFL game, you should win. Like,
right.
that's
It
the
shouldn't
bottom
even be a
line.
thought. It shouldn't even be a thought. But again, I I don't know. I just think that's kind of their method. They're 12th in points per game on defense. I mean, obviously as of late it has definitely inflated, but throughout the year they've been decently steady on defense. But yeah, and they're 11-3. Like they're a really good team. This to me is like the best version of the Bills I've seen in like 3 years, which is crazy
Which
to
is
say. 'Cause,
crazy because they
yeah,
lost people.
they're
Well,
just not. Yeah, they don't have like the household names, but they're not a team to mess with.
looking at it from Detroit's perspective, this is a game that they fell behind, they clawed back, and they had their chances, but they do the onside kick, and it felt like they were chasing this game the entire time, and that's not really the style that they've succeeded with this year. A lot
Hmm.
of the games they've had, they would just kind of take it, and even if they would falter their lead, they would get it back and just not let the opponent take it back. And
Right.
this game, they were behind the entire time, and I think that showed some weakness there. And the onside kick by Dan Campbell, not smart. I know. I mentioned this to somebody the other day that I'm curious to see how the Lions are next year. Obviously, it doesn't matter if they win the whole thing this year or whatever. We don't know what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
if they lose both their coordinators in Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn to head coaching opportunities, where will they be with just Dan Campbell? Because, yes, he's a great culture guy. But these decisions on making all these going forward on fourth down plays and doing these onside kick type things, like they're going to hurt the team. And that's honestly what lost them this game because they had a chance to like kind of claw back into it. And it became close. And you could say it's garbage time, the points they scored at the end if you want. But they still
Yeah.
were in contention that they could have won the game. Like they scored a touchdown right at the end. They were down by I think 6 or whatever they lost by. Um, yeah, they were down by 6, and then they had to do an onside kick. But if they don't do the onside kick before, then maybe that it's tied. I mean, you never really know how a game's going to go, but those types of decisions are going to come and hurt a team. But their offense obviously still put up 42 points, so that's something good. And the
Yeah.
defense obviously struggling, but this team is is hurt. That's where the struggles come from. They lost Aiden Hutchinson a while ago. Now they just lost David Montgomery. I saw on offense, and it's
Hmm.
just going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. So this team is playing hurt. They've kind of gotten through it at this point, but I think it might be starting to catch up to them that they're giving up more points than they have early on in the year.
I mean, yeah, like the defensive concerns are definitely concerning. But they still have a few weeks to figure it out. They're still 12-2. I'm not terribly concerned about the Lions. And you mentioned the point of like going for it or being like very aggressive with like these onside kicks and stuff. That's how these players are trained to play. You can't just like go back on your philosophy and
Right.
just all right, you know what guys, we're going to be more conservative now. That's why they're 12-2. They're 12-2 because they're aggressive. Yeah, that aggressiveness probably costed them this game, but it's against a quality opponent in the
It
Bills.
costed them a trip to the Super Bowl last year.
Okay, but they wouldn't have even made the playoffs if they weren't aggressive.
Right, but there's a time and the place. You could be aggressive and then still be like, you know what, we're going to kick a field goal here because this field goal would put us in a position to go to the Super Bowl and extend our lead. Like there's a time and a place. Like I get being aggressive, but just like that's what happened in the NFC Championship game, and I feel like it's going to be the death of their season again. This is still a great game they played, and they're obviously 12-2, so there's not that big of a concern. They're still
Yeah,
they
there's
lost to
something.
one of the best teams in the NFL as one of the best teams in the NFL. This is a really good football game.
Yeah,
But I think these concerns are something that a team can find a weakness in and then exploit and find a way to take down the Lions. Because now it's not a shoo-in that they win this division anymore. They might have to go on the road their first game because now
it's ridiculous.
they're 12-2 and now they're tied with the Vikings. That's
I know,
crazy.
that's insane to think about. It's
And Green
insane.
Bay's not going to win the division, but they're not far behind either. So there's a lot of good teams here. Like, as much as we talk about how the Lions have been the cream of the crop, like the Vikings have the same record as them now. And we've talked highly about the Vikings all year. We have. But
We have, but like
it's you think of like
they're
Lions and Vikings completely way lower than them.
yeah. And it's crazy to say, the last week of the season, Vikings and Lions. They're gonna play
That
each other.
could be it right there if they
That
both
could be
win.
the division right there, which is insane.
That if that game is for the division, that I think would be Sunday Night Football because I think they picked the
It
week
should be.
before for the last week of the
Yeah,
year
yeah, yeah.
because they don't have
That would
any
be
time
insane.
set up yet.
Right.
That would be an awesome game to close out this season. That's been
I
really
didn't see that.
all over the place. Football's all over the place, just in general. I don't know. It's it's a lot, but this game was a lot of fun. A lot of points scored,
Yep.
almost 100. So you don't really see that every day. There were 90 scored.
Ridiculous.
The Bills keep the offense rolling. I'm only scared to see what they do against the Jets next week.
Oh my goodness.
So
Watch out.
that'll be fun for me, even though it doesn't really matter anymore. This one I got right. We're gonna keep it rolling because we talked about that one for a while. Buccaneers and Chargers, 40-17. The Bucs on the road, injured. They get the upset over LA, and they keep their quest for that division title alive. They're in the driver's seat now. 288 passing yards for Baker, 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Bucky Irving great on the ground. Mike Evans masterclass once again, 2 touchdowns, 160 yards, and they are rolling. The Chargers, decent game for Herbert, but nothing too much there. And the Bucs offense with these injuries, fighting through, finding ways to win, and they keep it rolling. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. The Bucks are finally like showing who they are. And I thought that they always were a good football team. They've now won 4 games in a row. They started out 4-6. Everyone was like, I don't know, they don't look that good. Now they're 8-6, right back in the playoff hunt, looking good. And for the Chargers, they looked much better earlier on this year, and now they've lost 3 of 4, which is a little bit concerning. But they still should make a playoff spot because the nearest team next to them is like 2 games out. So as long as they don't have like some type of full-on collapse, which sounds like a Chargers thing to do, they should be fine. But
Yes.
yeah, it's weird. Both of these teams are trending in different directions.
Well, the Buccaneers to me they were starting out hot. They scored a lot of points. They were looking good.
Yeah,
Then they dealt with injuries. Mike Evans missed some time. They lost Chris Godwin. Obviously, the rest of the year, Evans came back.
yeah,
And they had to readjust, and they found the ways to readjust. Todd Bowles has done a really good job as head coach of that team because usually coaches do better in their second term as a coach. So his second chance, he's really taken it and built a good team. Their defense still has a lot of good pieces, so they've been solid holding down the fort. They held the Chargers to 17 points here, and we know the Chargers defense has been their specialty, and then the Bucs
right.
just scored 40 on them. So
Which is crazy.
it's changing how they're playing, and the Bucs offense fights through the injuries, and they're putting up points. So they're rolling to the playoffs. It's in their hands if they want that division or not, and we will have to see what ends up happening. But the Bucs are now 8-6. The Falcons are 7-7. So like we said, the upper hand goes to the Bucs, and those teams do not play each other again. So if Buccaneers win the whole way out, then they will have the division. All right, Battle of Pennsylvania, Eagles, Steelers. I think this was going to be a good game, and it was. 27-13, the Eagles get the win. They win by 2 touchdowns. This is a tough game for the Steelers, not really to get anything going on offense, and the Eagles were able to take advantage. Good game for Jalen Hurts, almost 300 yards, 290. Saquon, not his best game, but he was still solid. AJ Brown getting the ball, good game, touchdown, 110 yards. So Eagles keep rolling. They're on their way to make it. They're going to win that division and have a home playoff game. Continue to be rolling 12-2.
Yeah, the Eagles to me are extremely dangerous. Like we mentioned last year, obviously the Eagles like kind of flatlined towards the end of the season and then were a playoff disappointment. It's completely reversed. They kind of came out a little slow, and now it's scary. It's getting scary for the rest of the league. They have actually taken over number 1 in defensive points per game. They only let up 17 points per game, and they're top 8 in scoring. So this is getting very dangerous very fast for the entire league.
The Eagles, to me, are the best team in the NFL right now.
They've looked like it.
I think I said that a week or two ago. Maybe not on the show, but I've been trending towards that. It was the Chiefs for a while, but then we kind of were like, all right, they have the best record, but they're not the best team. Then the Lions kind of took it, and now the Lions listen, these teams are still up there. Obviously, they're still very good. But I think that both sides of the ball, special teams included, just the way they're moving it on offense, if the run game's not playing their best, the passing game will pick it up. They just have so much talent. And even they were the best team talent-wise going into the playoffs last year, but they were just stumbled down the stretch. But right now, they look amazing. They have so much talent, and I think that they are the best team in football as of now, and they have potential to move along. And now they could even get the 1 seed. They're 12-2. The Lions are 12-2. So they're tied. I mean, that was not even a thought because it was just that first team. We've been talking about like we just did before, the Lions and Vikings fight for the division there.
Right.
Well, they might not even get that 1 seed like we thought was locked up at this point. I mean, nothing's locked up. There's still 3 weeks left. You never know what can happen. But
True.
that's where we stand right now. Moving on, Sunday Night Football, the Packers, keeping with that NFC North. Big win over Seattle. This was a big game for the playoffs, wild card stuff. 30-13, they get it on the road. Josh Jacobs keeps it going. Touchdown again. Jordan Love, 2 touchdowns. So they're playing well. They lost last week to the Lions. We expected them to bounce back here in Seattle, and they did just that in convincing fashion. They're 10-4. They're in good position to be in a playoff spot. I believe one more win, and they should be pretty much locked up with that. Not a guarantee, but with the way the record is, they're 10-4. Seahawks are now fall to 8-6, so they have that 2-game lead. One more would basically make it impossible for them to be caught by Seattle, who's on the outside looking in, and lock things up for them. But Green Bay, I think they're another team that does a good job. Young defense, able to lock it down. Offense is very dynamic. Run game, pass game, they could find what's working and exploit a team in different ways, and they showed that again here.
There's so many dangerous teams in the NFC. I feel like that's the best way to put it. Like you look at the top and just Lions, Eagles, Vikings, and Packers too. Like, oh my, this is gonna be a bloodbath in the playoffs. Like when these teams start matching up with each other, I'm gonna have such a tough time trying to pick these teams because the Packers they also they came out last year looking really good in the playoffs too. So I don't know. I really don't know. This is gonna be a crazy playoffs. That's all I can think about right now.
And it's crazy to me, especially, that if you told me the NFC would be more dangerous than the AFC before the year, I would say that's nuts. Because last year, 2 years ago, you look at the teams that made the playoffs in the NFC, and the AFC was like, oh, we got to make our predictions. How are we going to leave some of these teams out? And now it's just, I think there's never been a bigger gap talent-wise in the NFL between the elite teams and just the bad teams. Like, there's so many more bad teams. And I think it's just that, like, the top half is really good and the bottom half is really bad. There's just not really average teams anymore.
Right.
Which obviously there is record-wise and stuff like that, but it just feels like there's never been this big of a gap talent-wise and just quarterback-wise, the elite quarterbacks, and then there's the top quarterbacks, then there's the bad quarterbacks.
Right.
It's just a very
just like, oh, he's good. Yeah.
There's a lot of parity now in that. It's very, very interesting how that has been. And there were 2 more games, 2 Monday night games, the Vikings and the Bears. The Bears just haven't been playing great. Vikings win 30-12 just to move things along. Darnold, another good one. They played well on offense. And the Falcons squeeze out a win over the Raiders. We'll touch on it quickly, but we'll get to it later. Kirk Cousins benched for next week. He has not played well this game. 112 yards, 65% completion percentage, 1 touchdown and 1 pick. He's out. Michael Penix Jr. goes in next week against the Giants. I think we all saw that coming eventually, and Raheem Morris decided it's now or never. They're down by 1 in that race for the division. They need to win out the rest of the way. They're going to make the switch and try and spark it with their rookie. All right, let's move along to the picks for next week. Make sure, again, to follow us at SRL.media on Instagram and TikTok, and to listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube at SRL Media. Starting out our Week 16 picks, Thursday Night Football, a game that was flexed in, the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers. Alex, who do we have?
This was a tough game. This is maybe, for me, the toughest game to pick. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think that they haven't been playing too great of football lately. They need to bounce back. And again, the Broncos are a very tough team. This is not going to be easy by any stretch. But I think they're going to come out, look really good. That defense is finally going to show up again. Because, again, the Broncos don't really have dynamic playmakers like that. They have some solid playmakers. Bo Nix has looked okay. But I think this Charger defense is going to show out in a big way, in a big win at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Denver, actually, on the road here. This is a hard one. Either way, you could agree with either pick. A lot of good reasons. But I really just like how Denver's been playing lately. The offense has been scoring a lot. I think that's going to continue. Now, obviously, the Chargers are vulnerable. They're trending in the wrong direction, as you mentioned, giving up 40 points last week. I think Denver is going to be able to find ways to exploit that. And their defense has been playing really well. Chargers offense has struggled. So give me the Broncos on the road in this Thursday night football game. Now, first weekend of Saturday football. There's also college football playoff this week, the longer extended one. So the two combating each other for the first time, really, because that's why the NFL did the Saturdays when college typically slows down around this point.
That makes sense.
But those 2 games, it's Houston and Kansas City. That's always a good one. I think we're going to be in agreement here, but I'm going with Kansas City. You also going with Kansas City?
Yeah, I'm going with Kansas City. I think that Houston just doesn't have enough at this point. And again, I think the Chiefs are finally going to start looking like the Chiefs this week. So yeah, give me the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, I think they usually have the Texans' number. The Texans play them well, it seemingly in the beginning, and the Chiefs typically pull away. And I
Right.
think the Chiefs need to figure it out. The Houston's been okay. They've been playing well. They've been winning games, but the Chiefs are going to keep rolling. Although with the struggles, this is a game I see them winning. All right, other Saturday game, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. This one's in Baltimore, and this is where this division gets tied. I think Baltimore is going to win this one. The Steelers beat them last time. I think it was a fluky game that the Steelers were able to pull that one out. The Baltimore Ravens were close and should have won that game. I think this is one that they're going to get Pittsburgh at a time where they lost last week against a good team in the Eagles. Baltimore, they've been playing well. Huge offensive performance last week, and I think they're going to keep it going and win at home.
Yeah, I'm going to be going with Baltimore here as well. I just think that they're the more talented team on paper. I like their chances more at home as well. And yeah, I know it's going to end up being an ugly game because it's a divisional game. The Steelers always give you that ugly type of performance. They make it like the worst possible offense. But yeah, I think that the Ravens are going to pull this one out here, especially at home.
Some typical AFC North football. That should be a great game.
Yep.
Speaking of not a great game, the Giants and the Falcons down in Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. slides in, as we just said, the lefty, the rookie, and I think he's going to give the Falcons the spark that they need. They're going to win this one over the Giants. They're at home. Everyone's going to be fired up to see him, their top 10 draft pick, sliding in there. So give me the Falcons.
Give me the Falcons at home as well. It's more of a testament to how horrible the Giants are. And yeah, I think we'll see some good stuff out of Penix. We may see a couple rookie mistakes because this Giant defense can get to the quarterback. So that's my only concern for how the Giants could end up winning this game. Like if they get a lot of sacks. But yeah, give me the Falcons here at home. They obviously have a lot more to play for as well. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a game that the Falcons need to have. Like you just said, they have to win the division to
Yeah.
make the playoffs, and this is their only chance. This is a must-win game. We said it last week against the Raiders, but you're playing a bad team. You have to beat the bad team. So if they lose one game, they're practically done for. We
Pretty
need
much.
some sort of miracle. Have to win the last two. Hope the Buccaneers lose. So yeah, I have the Falcons winning. All right, Patriots and Bills. Bills are at home. They just scored 40-something points back-to-back week. Give me the Bills again. I don't think much more goes into that one.
Yeah, Bills by like 50. I
50.
I really don't see how New England can put up much of a fight here.
I have a weird feeling the Bills are just going to score less points than they did the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's hard to score that many points 3 weeks in a row, but just like the Bills are still going to win. But I don't know. I don't think 40 points is going to happen again. But it
No,
doesn't count
yeah,
for the predictions. So
right.
that's just a side thought.
Yeah,
All right, Detroit and Chicago. Detroit's going to get back in the win column with this one. Chicago's reeling. Interim coach. They can't seem to figure anything out. The offense is just a disaster. The defense not really much better. So Detroit bounce back. They're going to get their 13th win in Chicago.
yeah. This is an easy bounce back opportunity in Chicago. Lions are going to take this one pretty handily. The Bears have just been reeling since their early good start, and I just see this still happening. I see the trends continuing.
AFC South Masterclass, Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. They lost big to Denver last week, but I'm still going to take them. Tennessee's just bad. Give me the Colts.
Yeah, give me the Colts as well. They obviously have a lot more to play for at this point, even though it is tough for them to get a playoff spot. But the Titans are just rough. So give me the Colts.
Rams, Jets. Jets return home for the first time in a couple weeks. Take on the Rams, who are very weird. They play 1 week, they'll look really good. 1 week, they'll look not very good. Last week, they were okay, and they won the game over the 49ers. No touchdowns. So I think this is going to be a close game, actually, for some weird reason. I think the Jets do have a chance to win it, but I'm going to go with the Rams. They have a lot more to play for. They're in play for that division. So, like we said, the only way in really is to win the division in the NFC South and the NFC West. I mean, there's still a possibility for the 7 but it's unlikely. It looks like Washington's going to line that one up. So I'm going to go with the Rams to win it. They just have more to play for, and against a struggling Jets team.
Yeah, at this point, you gotta roll with the Rams here. The Jets are looking better in like the past few weeks, but the Rams are starting to get healthy at the right time and are looking pretty decent. So yeah, give me the Rams.
Yeah, with McVay, they're obviously a very well coached team, so you could always
Definitely.
trust that as an important factor. Although it is at MetLife, it might be cold, so I don't know if maybe that's a factor for the Rams team that plays in
Play it back.
California. But who knows? All right, Philly and Washington. This one's going to be another good one, but I'm going to go with the Eagles on the road, like we talked about before. I think they're the best team in the NFL. I think they're going to keep rolling. Washington, this is huge though because we said that Seattle might be able to sneak up on them and steal that spot from them. But I just think the Eagles are just more experienced, more developed, more talented right now, as well as the Commanders have played. So I'm going to take the Eagles to win this game on the road.
I'm gonna take the Commanders.
Nice.
This to me is gonna be kind of like a statement game. They lost last time to the Eagles. I don't think that they're happy about that. They want to prove, you know what, you're gonna get the division, but we are very much a contender in the NFC. Jane Daniels, I think, is going to put up a lot of points. And I don't think that's major concern for the Eagles either. I do think that the Commanders are just at this point just a good team, and I like their chances, especially at home. So give me the Commanders.
I like that pick. That's a good one. All right, Cleveland and Cincinnati. Bengals are at home. This is going to be a shootout game, but Winston was benched from Cleveland. Dorian Thompson-Robinson slides in, so that will be a little bit of a different look. But the Bengals have been putting up a lot of points. The Browns' defense has struggled. I think that's gonna continue. I think the Browns will still score some points of their own because the Bengals' defense hasn't been great. So this is another AFC North battle. I'm going to take the Bengals to outscore the Browns with another Burrow and Chase high yardage performance.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bengals here as well. But if Jameis is actually like not playing this week, I don't know how the Browns put up much, if any, points. I think it's going to be really difficult for them. Even though
it's the big boom or bust, as we've talked about, right? You're going to get the points, but you're giving up the interceptions too.
Right, but I would rather roll the dice with that. Like if they put in Dorian Thompson, I don't see them putting up much points.
Yeah, but I think you have to though, just to see what you have. What do you have to lose these last couple of games?
You don't have much to lose, but I don't know. I mean, if you're trying to again have some positive wins towards the end, or just what do you call it? Maybe a look towards the future, or like motivating young players. Like I don't know, that could be good, but I don't know. I feel like Thompson, there's not really much there. I mean,
right. I mean, I love Jameis, but I just think you need to put it in DTR and see what you have. I mean, he was a mid-round pick, but you'll never know if you don't play him. But it could also hurt them in the draft pick position if they wanted to draft somebody at quarterback. If, like a Tommy Cutlet situation from last year with the Giants that you get put back a little bit if you win a game or two. But you never really know. I mean, it's all like you say these things now, and then you could say these things after the draft when you see if people are good or not. But you never really know. Like it's always like a tough situation for teams.
And also, it's your player development too. You got to develop at the end of the day.
All right, Arizona, Carolina. The Cardinals are trying to fight and stay alive. They're kind of falling out of it with these other teams kind of ascending, and they're kind of not as talented as these other teams. But I think they're going to get it here on the road against Carolina. We started to believe in Carolina a little bit. Then they had a bad showing against Dallas last week. The Cardinals have something to play for. They need it more. Give me the Cards on the road in Carolina.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cards as well. There's just a lot more desperation there. And while the Panthers have started to look a little bit better, they're not near the Cardinals level at this point. So give me the Cardinals on the road.
All right, Minnesota and Seattle. This is another big one. But I'm going to take Minnesota on the road. Seattle at home last week against an NFC North opponent in the Packers. Now they're getting it back-to-back weeks. They lost big to the Packers. I think Minnesota's offense is still on that same level that NFC North offense is this year, except the Bears have been really, really very highly powered, scoring a lot of points. And I think Seattle's offense isn't built for that. They're kind of built on shutting you down and then being able to score just enough points to win. But I think Minnesota's going to come in and do the same thing the Packers did, put up a lot of points on them and just ride that to victory. So give me Minnesota.
I'm going a little bold here. I'm going to be going with the Seahawks. I think, honestly, I couldn't even give you much analysis here. I just think they're at home, which obviously improves their chances. And I don't know. I really think Seattle's going to put out a good showing here. Uh, it wouldn't shock me if they upset them because, yeah, the Vikings have been really good, but at the end of the day, we know that the Vikings are cuties. Like, yeah, like it's good to see that they're having a good record and everything this year, which is great for them and their development. But I think Seattle's going to pull this one out here.
And the Vikes want a taste of that division, so
Right.
they got to keep winning.
It's true. It's going to be tough. I think at home, if it was flipped, I would take the Vikings. Like if Vikings were home.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that matters. I mean, it's a new environment. It's a loud environment. It's very cold there. Obviously, it's cold in Minnesota, but they play inside, so
yeah.
That matters. This should be a fun one. Jacksonville and Las Vegas, 4:25 p.m. And I think this is going to be music to your ears here. But Jacksonville is so banged up. The Raiders almost beat Atlanta last week. I'm taking the Raiders to win this game and put the Giants in prime position for that number 1 pick. I see it happening. They have a couple players that sometimes come out to play. They usually play hard every week. They just have zero talent besides Crosby and some random defensive players that they have. But they play hard, and against a team like Jacksonville, who's just so banged up, they have nothing going for them. Doug Peterson's basically has 1 foot out the door already. I just think the Raiders at home are going to get this win. A nice little day for them and lose the first overall pick with this one.
I fully agree with this one. I was very excited to see this on the calendar, to say the least. We're gonna see a O'Connell legacy game. He's gonna throw for at least 300 yards.
That's bold.
And
should bet that.
We should. I should.
You should, not me.
Brock Bowers, he's also gonna get a touchdown. He's gonna have a nice little game as well. And yeah, I think the Raiders' chances at home obviously improves their chances. The Jags at the end of the day are not good. Neither are the Raiders. This is objectively not a good matchup, but it's going to be fun because there's both just bad teams going at it.
Well, sometimes you get a fun game like that. If you're objectively just a football fan and like you take away records and just watch 2 teams that are on the same level, like it's like college football. Like you get a game like Tennessee, Alabama, it's 2 high-level teams going at it, but the same thing will happen in like the MAC conference when some bad team, I guess they're not bad, but they're good for that division, play each other.
Right.
So
there is that.
In any sport, like any 2 teams that are matched up well and like the same kind of level, it'll be a good game.
Yeah, definitely. So that should be exciting to see. And it'll put my Giants hopefully in the number 1 pick position. That's all I could hope for.
Yep. All right, San Francisco, Miami. This one was just kind of tough to pick because they're both kind of dead to rights at this point. Miami's at home, but I'm going to go with San Francisco. I just feel like they're going to win a game here. I think this is going to just be the nail in the coffin for the Dolphins. I mean, they're basically dead. If they lose another game, then they're really done. And I think the 49ers are just going to hang around in that divisional race in the NFC West, not get it, but they're not going to be done until the last week of the season. I feel like they're just going to keep playing. They have so much talent. Their talent has just been banged up. So I expect a big game from them on the road to get the win there over Miami.
Yeah, I'm gonna be going with San Fran as well. I think at this point that San Fran is just a better team. And yeah, I thought Miami was gonna come out firing last week because their backs were really against the wall, and they would have been back at 500 had they won, but they weren't able to pull it out. So yeah, at this point, I'm gonna be going with the more talented team in the Niners, even though they are on the road.
Yes.
But yeah, give me the Niners.
Even though they both lost last week. But yeah, San Francisco. This one, Sunday Night Football, Tampa Bay, Dallas. Both teams won last week. Both teams 30 and 40 points, respectively. I'm going to go with the Bucs on the road again. They're going to keep that road mentality going. They're trying to win that division. Another win would be huge for that. Dallas has been okay, but in some games, especially the primetime games, they have not looked very good this year. So I'm going to keep with the Bucs. And even though we said Dallas, haven't been good at home, and they haven't been good on primetime, and that's both of them here for that. So I'm going to ride with the Bucs to keep their division conquest rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rolling with Baker Mayfield here and the Bucs. like you said, this is kind of the perfect storm for the Cowboys. Being at home, which they haven't looked good. Prime time, definitely not looking good. And honestly, I think the Bucks also just kind of thrive on prime time. So all of that taking into consideration, yeah, give me the Bucks.
And the last game of the week, Saints and Packers. This one's at Lambeau. Dome team going there. The Saints aren't very good anyways. This is an easy pick for me. Give me Green Bay to keep their playoff conquest alive, and they're looking to lock up a spot in the coming weeks. Give me the Packers.
Yeah, this is an easy one. Give me the Packers here as well. There's just the Saints aren't too great of a football team, and the Packers have been really good so far.
All right, and that's going to do it. Those are our game picks for week 16 of the 2024 NFL season. So that'll be a wrap on episode 16 of SRL on the NFL. Once again, my name is Brennan Yerkes, joined with Alex Vachaponte. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we go, make sure to follow us on social media at srl.media on Instagram and TikTok, srl_media on X, and to follow this podcast and listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube for the video version at SRL Media. Again, my name is Brendan Yerkes. Thank you so much for tuning in to SRL on the NFL.